I'm not saying it in
Mm-hmm.
English.
Yeah.
For potential.
Yeah, the better you can know the other person, the more you can know
Definitely.
what's.
You can decide if this is really what you want, or if you can't deal with it, or it's how you know, I guess.
There are certain people, even if they're also a healthy person, that you may just not be well suited to be
Mm-hmm.
in a close relationship with. As well as, as you get to know someone better, finding out what are their blind spots and what are their, areas where they need growth, just like we each have, ourselves. So, yeah. Other thoughts on what makes a healthy relationship?
I think communication, but also just very honest. Like, you do not look good in that. Like, which is very superficial, but just an example. Just being able to, this may hurt you a little bit, but in the long run, it's going to save you, like, deeper hurt or, like, more extensive damage. Or if someone was doing things against the LC lifestyle, drinking, drugs, whatever, I think, if you have that intimate relationship and a healthy relationship with someone, the honesty to say, hey, I don't think you should.
Yeah, to be able to tell somebody something that's not easy to say, even if it might hurt their feelings a little bit, or if it's a matter of accountability, or hoping to protect them or intervene from in some way doing harm to themselves, or bringing about consequences that they don't want. And that's a difficult place to be in with somebody that you care about, because when you've got something at stake in that relationship, it's easy to do that with somebody that you don't have any connection to. Quit doing that, stop it, But it's communication, honesty.
I think that communication is really, it's a really good thing, but I think that in a relation, nobody's perfect. You're gonna miscommunicate something. You're going to mess up in some way. There's going to be lots of hardship and stuff. So I think a healthy relationship is one that can successfully get over the miscommunications and work through the problems that they have.
So perfect communication, is that the goal then? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
But the ability to be able to communicate and work through even whenever there's a miscommunication.
And I think part of that is, understanding each other better. Like she was saying, you're going to have to, because I think that the way someone acts, that action that they're doing makes sense to them. So if that makes sense to them, you need to kind of figure out why that makes sense to them. And then you need to talk about it with them. And I think that also, that kind of ties into what James said, that if that relationship is healthy and strong, I think that it will continue to help it grow if you can get through that hardship.
Yeah. Through a hardship, through working through difficulties, you deepen your bond, you deepen your intimacy, and communication, honesty, all those things work together for that. Is conflict a part of healthy relationships?
I think it is.
Just being able to work through conflict, not just giving up at the first stage of it.
Sure.
There's conflict, I'm leaving.
Oh, we had a fight, we're not meant to be together, or we should be roommates, or I'm not going to be your sister anymore. That we, if it were that easy and we could only be around the people that we never conflict with, that's not necessarily going to be a good thing. Sometimes we need somebody to tell us that those pants look stupid, or hey, what you're doing is, you're not going to like to hear this, but what you're doing is counter to who you are, or what you say you want in life. Yeah, so a lot of the same things I think that are the mark of a healthy relationship they're sort of continuums. Communication is also, really, really problematic. Communication is part of unhealthy relationships. When you do give up after the first fight, or you're not able to work through, or you fight in a way that's destructive rather than constructive. What other kinds of things are the marks of unhealthy relationships that come to mind?
I guess when one person is doing a lot of taking and another person is doing a lot of giving, then there's not two ways giving and taking going. There's just, maybe one person's taking, and the other person's giving. And eventually, I think there's going to be a conflict there just because we as people are made to give and take.
But aren't we, as Christians especially, aren't we supposed to sacrifice and give? And I mean, isn't that what we're called to?
I think so, but also even Jesus gave and he took. He took kind of the love that God put on his heart, and kind of just he took on the big goal that God had. He took that on and kind of, but also he gave love to the people that were around him, and he gave kind of his whole life to God. So I think giving and taking is a big part of who we are, and why we connect better or maybe not better.
Yeah, I mean, even Jesus had limits on what he would get. I know I was being sarcastic a minute ago, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, he had limits on what he was able to give, and when he needed to say, okay, I need to go rest, I need to go retreat for a while. How much more in our relationships, if you're constantly in the giving role and never, not just taking, but even at times just able to stop giving for a little bit, or be able to have those kinds of boundaries between and balance in those relationships. Other thoughts?
I just had a question popped in my mind about, well, this is more psych related, but crossing the lines between introversion and extroversion, because you have a lot of people that are just so, or they seek their strength from others, whereas introverted people seek their strength alone. So just you saying rest and replenish yourself just kind of prompted me, like friendships that cross those lines, just kind of working on those can be difficult.
Not everybody has the same capacity for whatever it is, and not everybody has the same need to recharge the batteries either. And so that goes back to getting to know the person that you're in relationship with and what they need and how that lines up with what you need or want. So yeah. Sometimes an introvert can learn to function as an extrovert, but that doesn't mean that they don't still sort of collapse later, or vice versa. So yeah, great. I appreciate you guys' questions. So please feel free to keep tossing those in. When we first started talking, I said what comes to mind with relationships, and 2 or 3 different people at the same time said stress or challenges or fights or those kinds of things. Let's talk a little more about the challenges of relationships. What is it that makes, again, whether it's dating or broader relationships, what is it that makes it so hard? Why is it such a challenge?
I think because you're 2 different people. You come from 2 different backgrounds, and you're trying to mesh together kind of as in a relationship. You're trying to mesh together, and I think there are going to be kind of times, like for example, the give and take thing. If one individual in the relationship has a family that does nothing but take, they're going to kind of, and that means they were in the giving role. So if they were always in the giving role, then they probably don't want to give too much in the relationship a lot, because they've been giving basically since they've been at home. So now they're in college and they don't really feel like giving to a whole lot. But the other person is kind of the opposite of their house. So they get together and you've kind of got this conflict, but they really like each other. And so they have to kind of work through that. And I think that's one of the challenges, just as an example, that there are going to be challenges, but I think that it's very important that you try to work through it.
Yeah, especially with dating or romantic or marital relationships. I think one of the craziest things we do in life is to bond ourselves to another person in that way, because it is such an immense challenge. Crazy, not that we shouldn't do it, but crazy just in the magnitude of what we're taking on when we do that. Yeah. And for whatever reason, there's lots of reasons, but we're not necessarily only drawn to the people who are going to fit really well and easily with us. And in fact, we're often drawn to the people that are going to activate all the most frustrating and challenging things that we've dealt with before. And that's true, I think, not just in dating relationships, and even in friends that we find that um,